Sides, totals, best bets, all coming your way here. Friday edition of WagerTalk TV's First Pitch. Detroit, Baltimore going to be out of the gate. We'll talk Phillies, Mets, and those aforementioned best bets coming up in Cleveland, taking on the Cards, and in the Rockies and Dodgers game. Welcome on in here while you're hanging out with us. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching us on social, that follow button keep us right there in the timeline. Dan Alexander here, being joined by the Friday crew, who we only have 2 Fridays left with. That's right. The regular season is rapidly coming to a close here, and you see it all across baseball with teams clinching, fading those teams clinching potentially, or letting the party continue. Bryan, Leonard, and Steve Merril here with me to break down all of it, folks, and take your questions along the way. So keep those comments coming in the section below. Bryan, I'm going to start with you because playoff implications this time of year is what we're all looking at and what we're all trying to handicap. But this game especially, or this series especially, Detroit taking on Baltimore, the 3-game skid was finally snapped for the O's. They get the win in San Fran they get the win at home against San Fran, last evening. But as far as stacking up wins, that's what the O's need more than ever right now. They're still in that wild card spot, in the top wild card spot. So, not in jeopardy of really falling out of the playoff picture. But if they'd like to catch the Yankees, that door is slightly open. If you maybe look at a sweep here, they have the series against the Yankees to wrap up the year. So maybe you circle that. But 4 games back, Bryan, it's do or die time for Baltimore. And that's not always the best thing, especially when you have a frisky team like Detroit coming to town. How are you looking to bet this one, Bryan?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if Baltimore or the Yankees even want to win that division. Neither one really
That's true.
Well,
you can have it.
And they're back, looking to back into it. I don't know. But Kydra Montero is starting to round into form for the Tigers. He struggled with his consistency earlier in his rookie season, but he's permitted 3 earned runs or less in 5 of his last 6 starts, throwing 14 combined shutout innings in his last 2 games. He's coming along really well in this Detroit team, and I'm very excited. I've got some friends that are from Detroit, obviously Johnny Detroit and Chris and Nook are both from Detroit, and the Tigers haven't had a lot to cheer for lately, but I like this young team, and they've got a lot of good young players. I think the future's looking bright in Detroit, and hey, they may be maybe a year early here as they're making a run. They're going up against Corbin Burns, who's having another solid season this year after signing with the Orioles. But at home, he's only 7-5 and a less than stellar 1.31 WHIP. He has not pitched as well in this ballpark as he has on the road, and he had a tough July, but has bounced back well since. These 2 starters actually faced each other 6 days ago, and neither allowed an earned run. It was a low-scoring contest. Normally, when 2 pitchers pitch that way, I look for more scoring the next time around. We could probably see that in this one. Coming into the season, the Orioles were expected to be a dominant force. I played them over in season wins. They've really struggled in the second half, as I pointed out. The young players, which made this team's future so bright, have not lived up to expectations. In the meantime, the afterthought Detroit Tigers have been on an incredible run. They're now tied with the Minnesota Twins for the final wildcard spot. And it's their young players who are making the difference. I really like these Tigers young players. Over the last 10 games, Baltimore has won just 3 times, while the Tigers have won 8 out of those 10. In fact, the Tigers are now 4 games over 500 on the road, while the Orioles sit only 8 games over 500 at home. Baltimore probably wins a game. The line tells you that, but there's no way I'm laying this type of number with Baltimore here. The value, and I'm a value handicapper, the value is on the team that's won 8 out of 10 games. Detroit's got no pressure on them. They weren't expected to do well this year, and they're playing great ball right now. And that's a team I'm looking to back. And I'm also getting them at a nice underdog price here against Baltimore. And as good as Burns has been, he has shown this year that he can be hit. And I think Detroit's going to get to him today. I can't pass up this number with the Tigers, who are paying so well right now, getting them in a nice underdog price.
Bryan, Leonard, WT.Buzz/BL. Steve Merril also in the house. 2 R's, 1 L. Guys, we have an absolutely insane deal. I don't know how they're getting away with it. At the Detroit office, the fact that we're chopping 50% off daily packages today. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but check these guys out at wagertalk.com. We'll find out what they have up. You can take 50% off Friday only. It's a great Friday, Steve, and I'm glad. You love having you on here, man, because you're making it easy on me. I don't even have to find a segue to bring up the Phillies and Mets, even though probably this homer doesn't want to after last night. But I said on yesterday's show, Steve, hey, you can bet the Mets any way you want with Walker on the mound. It was just a red-hot offense going up against a pitcher that couldn't find his way out. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, you could bet the over any way you wanted. And I look at today's matchup for this Phillies and Mets game. I look at the home and road splits for Sanchez, and I ask myself, how is this going to be any different as far as the Mets side of the equation here, what they'll be able to do offensively? Because unless they just go into a slump, what they're doing at the plate, you're going to need an insane Cy Young candidate to even be able to slow them down a little bit. I think it could be a rough series here for the Phils with the wraparound. How are you seeing Friday's game shaking out, Steve?
This is definitely a big game breakdown because Mets-Phillies probably the best overall weekend series that we have here heading into one of the final weekends of the regular season. Mets are red hot, and that's an understatement. This is a team that's now scored 30 runs their last 3 games, 10 straight in 3 games, 3 straight with 10 runs exact, including that 10-6 win last night against Philly. In fact, last Friday, I have a strong over best bet a week ago for my clients at WagerTalk when the Mets won that game 11-3. So it's kind of hard to get in front of the over here, but the odds makers have priced it a little bit higher, 7.5, leaning to the under now. And that's because 2 good starting pitchers are on the mound. I'm going to take a little bit of a contrarian call, though, here and look at the Phillies for a couple reasons. First of all, they lost game 1 of this series last night, as I mentioned, 10-6. But if you look back over the last couple weeks, Phillies have gotten off to slow starts, but then bounced back in their last couple series as well. They lost 6-2 at Milwaukee on Monday, bounced back to win 5-1 in game 2 on Tuesday. You go back a week further, I talked about that 11-3 loss against the Mets a week ago on Friday. They bounced back to win both Saturday and Sunday, including 6-4 in game 2. So I do look for a better outing here by the Phillies tonight. Both pitchers are in good current form. Peterson has better overall numbers for the season and the last 7. But Sanchez is pitching pretty solid, and I do think he's another guy that's very capable. And the one thing I want to point out, maybe the X factor in this game for the Phillies, is this left-hander versus left-hander matchup. You look at Philadelphia this season, they're batting .255 in all games in all games in general. On the road, they're batting .257. But then when you look against lefties only, .271 in all games, including .291 on the road against left-handers. It's maybe been the best offense in baseball away from home against lefties. And I like to look at road numbers, as you know, because it's all different types of stadiums. It takes in a general theme as far as how they really hit against that type of pitcher. Meanwhile, the Mets this season have not been as good at home against left-handers, just overall .257 in all games at home, just .247. So you're talking about a .291 versus .247 difference tonight in this lefty versus lefty matchup. And I think that could be the hidden X factor here as the Phillies bounce back. They're still the best team in this league. The Mets are closing, but they're still 6 games out despite winning 16 of their last 20. Philly also 9 games above 500 against above 500 teams. The Mets 1 game down still against winning teams this season. So at a pick 'em price range, I'd rather have the better team in this series in a bounce back spot. Take a look at the Phillies here, -105, even money. Philadelphia Phillies even money always catches my attention here tonight on Friday. And don't forget, my college football top 25 video is posted. There is a Friday night matchup, 3 Saturday matchups. Fade the Public is going to be up tomorrow. Also a ton of solo videos. Hit subscribe, hit the bell for instant alerts. Thumbs up, like these shows and videos, and also comment below because I read all the comments and I reply back. If you'd like to get the rest of my Red Hot Baseball, by the way, 29-9 baseball run, and the last 2 losses have been in extra innings. Back-to-back extra inning losses and still 29-9. That's how good the season's been. Get $50 off the rest of the season with MLB 50 right now. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com.
Well, when a guy who's 29-9 says I like the Phillies, I like that. I'm going to give a like to this video myself, Steve, simply for that breakdown right there. The bounce back spot, Steve says, potential here for the Philadelphia Phillies. Hop below in the comments. Let us know what games you're looking to bet while you're down there. Hit that like button. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe. We would appreciate it. Goes a long way. We had a question earlier in the chat. Jackson was asking, hey, any thoughts here on the Nats today? I'll get your thoughts on this one, Bri. We talked about a great pitching matchup in the last one. This one isn't too shabby either. You got Talion and Williams going. And for the Cubs, I mean, right, doesn't this just seem like a team that's circling the drain as far as the playoff hopes go? They're really staring elimination down the barrel. You look at the rest of the schedule that they have setting up, kind of seems more imminent than will it happen. I'm not sure. What do you think about the Cubs? You think they have a final push left in them? This one going early, 2:20. That's why I wanted to touch upon it here a little bit earlier here in the show. But Nats and Cubs for you. Thoughts there, Bryan?
Yeah, we talked about this. I don't know if it was last week or not. We talked about the Cubs. I didn't think that they were good enough to make the playoffs, and they're playing decent ball, but I think that's something that too many losses right now, and they're just not going to be able to make it up. But they are playing pretty good ball. Tyan's been terrific as of late. He's a guy that, for the most part, all season long, has been very consistent. And I'd like to play on him. I don't like this line. Williams is really started coming into his own before he got hurt. He's a guy that I followed the last couple of years. Not a major strikeout guy, so he doesn't get a lot of publicity in that regard, but he's very consistent. I like the way he pitches, but he hasn't pitched in a while. He's been injured, so this is his first game back. Don't know how long he's going to be out on the mound. It's not like the Washington Nationals are going to the playoffs or anything, but he wanted to come back and wanted to face major league batters once again before the season ended. A lot of credit to him in that regard. But I like the Cubs here, but I don't want to lay that number. I actually like both starting pitchers, but the line's getting hit right now. We're looking at 9.5s across the board. And I could see that. Washington's bullpen has not been fantastic this year. We don't know how long Williams is going for. Unfortunately, I can't get involved because of the line. But hats off to the way the Cubs have played, even though they're not going to be going to the playoffs this year.
That's Bryan Leonard, WT.buzz/BL. Check him out over at wagertalk.com. Like I said, you can chop 50% off any purchase over there at the site for the daily plays and one-day all-access passes. 50% off. So if you never tried us before, folks, that's a hell of a deal there. Or if you have bought from us over at WagerTalk before, you tried out these expert handicappers and you love it, and you just like saving some money, great day to do it. It ends Friday at midnight, so that's a run, don't walk type of proposition there. Steve, coming up in Best Bets, we're going to talk Rockies and Dodgers, and we're going to talk Cleveland and St. Louis with you guys. And, of course, we'll have to touch upon what Ohtani did last night. If you're a baseball fan or just a sports fan, good God, that was one way to make history with that insane performance, getting him to the 50-50 club, the lone member of it. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I bring that up to preface taking a look here at the Brewers and the Diamondbacks, because both of you guys, interestingly, picked best bet games that see clinchers in their following game after clinching. And I talked about, a potential fade the clincher angle. If we played it yesterday, you went 2-0 with the Yankees and the Brewers losing, but now the stardust is out of the eyes for the Brewers. It's time to maybe get the nose back to the grindstone as they're taking on the D-backs. The problem for them maybe a little bit is they're looking to play against Zach Gallen, who in September has just been lights out. It's going to be Rhea opposing him. So I don't know if this is his Friday pitcher matchup or what. You got a lot of great ones across the diamond here. Any thoughts for the folks in the D-backs and the Brewers?
Yeah, MLB did it right. Let's get the good pitchers on Friday because they're going to get lost in the shuffle on Saturday and Sunday, right, with all the football games. So I guess it's for the best. Gallen was kind of like the Diamondbacks in general. This is the guy that started the All-Star game a year ago, got off to kind of a choppy this season, just like the defending National League champ Diamondbacks got off to a slow start at the beginning of the season. Like the Astros, like the Rangers. The difference is the Rangers never turned it around. The Astros obviously did. They're leading their division. Best record in baseball the last several months. Diamondbacks have also turned things around, though. But even with the run, 17 games above 500, 97 net runs up on the year, they're still tied for the final wild card spot. They're 6 behind the Dodgers. They're not going to win this division. They got to get in with the wild card, and they're tied for the final spot right now with the New York Mets, who we just talked about, have won 16 of their last 20. So it's still do or die for Arizona. Must win does not always equate to win. These have actually been two very profitable teams this year, up 14 and 15 units each up against the money line. And this is a pitching matchup tonight, as you mentioned. It's a pretty good one as well. We'll look at current form here. Arizona 9 and 11 their last 20, so they have cooled off. Brewers 9 and 11 their last 20, so they've been pretty even. They're both 6 and 4 their last 10. Game 1, of course, went to Arizona last night, 5-1 at Milwaukee. This could be very much like that Phillies situation, where I do think a quality division leader bounces back after losing Game 1. So I'd probably lean towards the Brewers for that reason. And also, this is a quick rematch, by the way. They played just a week ago, last Friday through Sunday, just like the Mets and Phillies did as well. A lot of comparisons here. And that was a situation. Milwaukee won the first 2 games 17-9 and then lost an extra inning game on Sunday. So the Brewers, for the most part, did have the D-backs number last weekend.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. WT.buzz/SM is where you can find him, guys. Great comment from our man Lawrence Brown, checking in all the way from Saudi Arabia. Wow. See, that's what I love about the YouTube channel here. You can watch anywhere on your mobile devices. We got the short stream coming your way. We're all over social. So even when Lawrence is checking in from Saudi Arabia, no, not that Lawrence. This is a much better one than the Lawrence Presman that'll be joining us about 40 minutes from now on Wager Talk today. I'm kidding. We love you, Prez, as well. But appreciate the comment, Lawrence Brown. Lawrence Brown, loving being a client of Steve as well. So we appreciate you buying that long-term package. Check out Bry, too, if you like those dogs that are barking. I know a dog that probably isn't barking here today, Bry. We would need to bring on Adam Trigger if we're going to find a way to get someone to bet on the Athletics taking on the Yankees. This is a late night game here. Price kind of keeps you off if you want to go with the Yankees on the road, unless you want to lay the 1.5. It's Cole against Ginn. The Yankees, I mentioned them because they got bit by that clincher theory, and now they go on the highway. Do you think that maybe there's just the resting on the laurels, or do you think the Yankees maybe feel a little bit of heat with the O's winning last evening, sitting up 4 on them? Any thoughts here as we try and handicap this latter part of the season? Because even games like this, that maybe you look at the records and they aren't as marquee because of the playoff implications and the different spots that you find here at the end of the year, maybe they look a little bit different than the price maybe indicates. Would you agree in this case, or is this just a yuck? Yankees $2 favorite on the road. There's some other games I want to get involved with.
Well, there's 2 things I want to touch on before we get to this game. First of all, if we were able to get a group of people together to buy Prez a one-way ticket to Saudi Arabia, put me first in line.
Go fund me. I'm in. Let's do it.
I think you would get just about everybody on the site to do that. And yeah, if you do a GoFundMe, half of the people who listen to his analysis will agree with that. Secondly, you talked about the teams that are clinching. We have 2 today. We had 2 yesterday. Keep in mind, all 4 of these teams have gone to the playoffs pretty regularly. So it did work out yesterday that you were able to fade those teams, but it's not like the Pirates or the Reds or any of the teams like that have made it to the playoffs. Now, when the Mets make it, maybe that's a situation where we could fade them. But a lot of these teams come into the season expecting to be to the playoffs, and they've been there a lot of times. I know Milwaukee, 6 out of the last 7 years they've won their division. So you got to keep that in mind. A lot of teams, sure, everybody wants to celebrate a little bit, and we'll talk about it a little bit like that on my best bet. But it's a little bit of celebration that you made it, and it's fine. Other teams are celebrating that they're on free money right now. They didn't expect to be there before. So that's just something to keep in mind. As for the Yankees, Garrett Cole got hit pretty hard last time out. He was pitching pretty well, and then all of a sudden he just fell apart. I usually, when you've got an ace pitcher off of a really bad outing, I like to come back and bet him. Problem is, you're laying in the 185 to 190 range here at Oakland. But the A's, as good as the A's have been all season long, they've stepped back a little bit. They're not the hot team they were earlier. The offense at one point was the best offense for like an entire month. But now they're starting to step back a little bit. They've got a lot of the young guys they're bringing up continually to see what they have next year in Sacramento. So I prefer the Yankees here, but I don't feel comfortable laying that type of number on the road. But I do want to back Cole. Maybe a way to do it is maybe a strikeout prop or something in that regard. That would probably be something I would look at as opposed to the side or the total in this game.
Yeah, you got to feel like this Yankees team coming off the loss, that this could be one of the parlay pieces of the day. That is for sure. Hop below in the comments. Let us know what ones you're cooking up down there. Steve, before we get to best bets, we'll touch on one more game here because I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on these two games coming later this evening with the Rockies and Dodgers and Cleveland and St. Louis, because what Bryan alluded there too makes it a fascinating handicap on both games. So I definitely want to give you guys a chance to break those ones down. But Tyler, who finally is back in the chat, Ty, we were thinking we were going to have to do some memorial services for you, buddy, but I'm glad to see that you're back down there. He's asking about this Miami Marlins game going with the Bravos. It's Morton on the mound, and he's going to be going against Beloso, and we're looking at around 8.5. He's wondering if the under is in play here. Any thoughts on the total, Steve, or would you bet this one a different way?
Yeah, I'd actually bet it a different way. I'd look more at the side in this one between the Braves and Marlins. Obviously not going to lay minus 200 with Atlanta, but I do think getting them down on the run line, minus 1.5, minus 120 has some value here. This is a Miami team that's been vastly underperforming all season. This is a playoff team last year. Let's put that in perspective. A playoff team from last year is 41 games below 500, and they are not playing hard down the stretch. We often see teams play hard in September, when the youngsters get called up. But the teams that often you have to be careful with in September are the teams that expected to have a good season that didn't. And that was definitely the Marlins after making the postseason. They're 41 games below 500. They've lost 8 of their last 10 games. Does not look like they're taking the rest of September seriously. So this is Braves all the way for me. And Atlanta in pretty good current form offensively, to say the least. They put up 22 runs those last 2 wins against Cincinnati. And even the game they lost on Tuesday was 6-5. So 27 runs scored the 3 games at Cincinnati. No day off. They travel right to Miami. I think that'll keep the momentum going tonight. So I'd be careful with the under for that reason. But more so, I like the Braves minus 1.5 to win by margin.
And from maybe one of the most popular parlay pieces to one of the other ones, looking at that Atlanta Braves, people love their big money line favorites. The Braves potentially a candidate for Steve there, but looking towards the run line, keep that juice down. That's for damn sure. In case you're just joining us, folks, I shared the fact that you can chop 50% off any purchase over at wagertalk.com as long as it is a daily play or a daily pick package. While you're hanging out with us, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give a like as a thanks for these guys. Yes, the biggest thanks that you can give is head on over to wt.buzz/BL or wt.buzz/SM. Purchase these guys because they are rolling. You thank them and you thank yourself, and your bankroll will thank you. But Bri, we got best bets coming for free right here. The true best bet for you folks can get 50% off. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's a rare 5%er for you. I think in the baseball season, there's like 2,400 games, something like that. You've only had 10 games that have ISO'd to you as this is worth a 5%er, and you have one of those tonight. Tell the folks about that, and also let us know about the Cleveland and St. Louis game going tonight and the free best bet that you have for the folks.
Yeah, we've got some best bets going on this weekend. I believe I have 3 for Saturday, 2 for Sunday so far. And you mentioned it, the big 5% play in Major League Baseball today. It's been a while since we've had a 5%, only 10 on the season, 7-3. And we do play a lot of underdogs. I believe the last few have been underdogs. So it's even better than that because we've got even more net profit on the season to add to that 7-3. So you're able to get that today. It just so happened that it's for the 50% off. So it's a great deal for clients. And you can get that for 50% off right now on that 5% play. I talked a little bit about the Guardians earlier. They did clinch a playoff spot yesterday. They did it by outlasting the Twins in 3 straight extra inning games. Those, I watch every Guardians game being originally from Cleveland. Those were 3 of the best games we've seen all season long. And the Twins, talk about tearing your heart out. Now they're tied with the Tigers for the last playoff spot. And they thought they were going to win each and every one of those games. In fact, they had a 2-run lead in extra innings the other day and lost. I would definitely be looking to fade the Twins because if you've noticed the schedule, every team that's fighting for the playoffs, they all have inflated lines, just about every single team. And the Twins are going to be looking that way the next few days too. But Cleveland, as I mentioned earlier, they've had us a lot of success making it to the playoffs for the last decade or so. In fact, before that, when I was a little bit younger, when they had made it to the World Series a couple of times. But this team has done it quite a bit recently. And if you follow Cleveland, it all comes down to Jose Ramirez. The guy is on an even keel all along. He's your hardest working player. And when your hardest working players are the guys with the most success and the most talent, that looks good on everybody else on the team. So I'm sure they might have had a couple of cocktails last night, but I think they'll be ready for this Cardinals team going today. We mentioned before, Ben Lively, most consistent starter in this rotation. He enters play with a 3.87 ERA, 1.23 whip. And in 8 of his last 12 starts, he's held the opposition to 2 earned runs or less. He's been very consistent. He took a line drive off his leg a couple games ago, but he's bounced back strong, seems to be very healthy. Kyle Gibson enters play with a 4.11 ERA, 1.33 whip. His expected ERA is 4.72. That's over a half a run higher. So he's been pretty lucky in that regards this season. And if you take a look at what he's done at home all season long, pitching for the Cardinals, they have 2 wins. He's got 2 victories pitching at home all season long with a 4.78 ERA and a whopping 1.59 whip. He's been very good in his last 3 starts, allowing 2 earned runs and 19 combined innings. But that just means you're paying a tax if you're looking to back Gibson in this game because he has been pitching well lately. I don't buy into that. You take a look at what he's done in his career. He's got a 4.51 ERA, 1.37 whip. That's not the kind of guy I'm looking to play on here against a quality team in Cleveland. Cleveland has surpassed their preseason expectations. St. Louis is a team that's been a disappointment all year long for their backers. There's even a run of games for St. Louis where people just weren't showing up anymore. And I've been to St. Louis. They've got one of the most educated fan bases in Major League Baseball. They're used to winning. They're used to their team playing hard. They are losing interest in this St. Louis team. It'll be interesting what the Cardinals do in the offseason to bounce back next year. But as of right now, Cleveland, clearly the better team here, and I like their starter better. So despite clinching the playoff spot yesterday, I think they come out and continue playing well. This is a team that's playing very good right now, much better in St. Louis. Give me Cleveland in a near pick'em situation here.
Looking towards Cleveland, saying, who cares if they had a couple of cocktails? I mean, hey, Wade Boggs used to drink a whole 30-pack and eat an entire chicken on a flight, and his career turned out just fine. So a couple cocktails never hurt nobody. And Bryan looking towards Cleveland, even money. And you can shop around good prices out there as they're taking on the Cards. That's the best bet for Bryan. Check out that 5%er rocking this evening. You can get it for 50% off. Steve, you want to talk Rockies and Dodgers here? I mean, talk about potential letdown spots, but I don't know if the Dodgers could be let down. I don't care if it was against the Marlins. 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, 2 stolen bases, 6 hits, 20-4, the final score. one of the most historic performances against the Marlins or not that we have ever seen in baseball. You could argue in sports when you're talking about making history was what Ohtani did last evening. I'm fascinated how you're looking to bet this game because good thing for the Dodgers guarding against the letdown is the fact that they get to play the Rockies. That probably helps for sure. I'm wondering how you're looking to bet this one, Steve. And also, you have to talk about this 50% off deal. I know you got a college football game that you absolutely love that's up, and folks can grab that, or they can grab the entire card, a one-day pass. You can chop 50% off that as well. So tell the folks about that, and what do you think about the Dodgers coming off a historic performance, Steve?
Thought it was very appropriate that we talk about history being made last night with the Dodgers on 50% off Friday at wagertalk.com. And that, of course, is because Ohtani joined the 50-50 club. In fact, the 50-50 club wasn't good enough for Ohtani. He said, I'm going to join the 51-51 club on the same night. To put it in perspective, what he did last night with the 3 home runs, 2 stolen bases to get to 51-51, no other player had ever had more than 42 of each, and that was actually Alex Rodriguez. Acuna had 41 homers, 73 steals recently. Just a monster performance. He's going to be the MVP, and he's really worth the $700 million it's looking like. And we always wondered, could Ohtani be better if he just hit and didn't pitch? Well, I guess he could be even better because he's now the first guy ever to get 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases, and that number is still climbing. Question becomes, though, is there a letdown for the Dodgers here? On the surface, this looks like a terrible scheduling spot, as LA had the huge win last night, 20 runs, the emotional record-breaking performance by Ohtani. Now they travel back home. Actually, that was a late afternoon game. They travel back home cross-country to LA with no rest to take on a bottom-feeding team like the Rockies, who have actually won 6 of their last 10. But let's not overthink this. If you're going to play this game, it's Dodgers or pass for me. But I am going to give you a few different options. First of all, I've talked about this for years. When you play Dodger games, you either play the big underdog outright on the money line, or you play the Dodgers to win by margin -1.5 on a much cheaper run line. And I think that's the ultimate strategy here because, yes, if the Dodgers come a little bit flat here, the Rockies could be a live dog. I mean, shoot, the Dodgers haven't even named an official starting pitcher as of Friday afternoon. So if you like the Rockies, you take a look at that plus 210 number. However, I still think the Dodgers are the safer play. I'd rather have this red-hot offense, and we're going to lay the 1.5 down to -120 here, a very reasonable price. Really the best team in baseball. They weren't there all season, but guess what? The 20 runs last night or yesterday afternoon allowed them to now pull ahead with the best run differential in all of baseball. 1 ahead of the Yankees, 2 ahead of the Brewers. I think that momentum continues. I'm not getting in front of this steaming, this freight train, the opposite of a falling knife, a freight train here that has put up at least 8 runs or more in 5 straight games. And yes, traveling cross country seems strange, but the fact they don't have today off is actually a good thing. The letdown after these extended road trips happens when you have a day off once you get back home, because you get back in the routine of running errands, dealing with the family. This is basically just another road game for the Dodgers tonight. Maybe the letdown happens this weekend. I think the momentum continues. If you're going to play it, I would lay it, and the run line is the responsible way to do it with the LA Dodgers. And by the way, to put things in perspective, I mentioned the Rockies have gone 6-4 their last 10. Their 4 losses have all been by 3 runs or more during that span. And meanwhile, the Dodgers, while they're just 5-5 their last 10, all 5 of those wins have come by at least 2 runs or more, including 4 of their last 5 wins have all been by 4 runs or more. So once again, you think it's a letdown, hey, take a shot at 2-1 with the Rockies. I don't think it is, though. Lay the 1.5 -120 Dodgers run line. And if you would like to get best bets for Friday, it's 50% off everything this Friday only at wagertalk.com. I do have an advanced college football best bet for this Saturday, a strong steamroller, which is half price. It goes back to the full price after midnight. My baseball best bet tonight is half price as well on a 29-9 baseball run the past month. And that includes back-to-back extra inning losses. And we're still 29-9. That's how good my number 1 ranked baseball season's been. I'm number 1 in ATS units of profit on sides the last 2 years in college and pro football combined. Not a bad time to check out an all access and get it for 50% off the daily pass this Friday only. Steve Merril, wagertalk.com.
That is Steve Merril. Big thanks to him. Big thanks to Bryan Leonard. Big thanks to you in the chat. Shout out to you over there, Colin Campbell, Mike Love, Lawrence Brown, SI35, Tattooed, spreading some positivity there in the chat. And I think somebody made a wrong turn at Instagram. Day drinking a little early here, Steve and Bry. We have Boss Titties jumping in the chat here. Yes. That is not a typo. He was just letting us know that sports betting is rigged. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the winning side, which is rigged for me. When he does, we're bringing him on as a guest. That we can absolutely guarantee. All joking aside, we love all the comments. Keep them coming, folks. And on the rewatch, comment below and let us know what your best bets are or what the rigged side is. We'd love to hear that one for sure. Keep those likes coming. Subscribe here. Hit that little bell. And if you're on Instagram, X, TikTok, we appreciate you there too. Keep those likes coming. And the follow button goes a long way. Great breakdowns there from the guys. We'll be back locked and loaded on Monday. Final week coming your way of First Pitch here. We'll be with you through the regular season. So folks, get your baseball fix now as First Pitch going to be making way for the NHL in just, 14 days away, the start of that. I know Bryan Leonard's pumped up for that. You want to cash in, and folks, keep checking out the videos. Check out the ones on your screen right now. Get all the info you need to cash on all the sports you love. Best of luck until next time, folks. 20 minutes from now, Wager Talk Today coming your way. Until then, best of luck. Cash those tickets, and we'll see you back here Monday.